Hey guys, Jonah here from SDK Central, and today I'm going to show you guys how to use NSTimers. Now, believe it or not, NSTimers is probably one of my favorite features in Apple's SDK. Apple makes it very easy to use NSTimers, and without NSTimers, none of my iPhone games would be possible. So, I'm going to be showing you guys how to do NSTimers, and you guys are probably wondering, some of you guys, what is an NSTimer? Now, basically, an NSTimer is a little timer that's in the background. And you can choose the duration of the timer. Like, let's say in 10 seconds, a label will pop up, which it'll do. Basically, there's a certain amount of time you code the NSTimer to do, and in that amount of time, it'll trigger an action. It's pretty simple to do. And what most people use it for is you can repeat the timer. So every 5 seconds, an image pops up on the screen, and stuff like that. That's what a lot of people use it for their own games. Now, it's really simple to do. It's just one line of code. It's so simple to do. So let's go into Xcode and make a new project. So we'll create a view-based application. And I'm just going to make it something simple. It'll change the label in a certain amount of time. So let's just call it timer. And now, first off, we want to go to our classes. We want to go to our viewController.h. And this is where we're going to define some of our stuff. So after this quote, this open bracket, press enter twice. And you want to do NSTimer space star, whatever you want to call your timer. So in this case, I want to call it time, and semicolon to end it. And we want to add an IB outlet, and this is going to be for our label that will change, of type UI label. And the reason a lot of people are wondering why we have UI in the beginning of your every object, that's because it's deep programming under the UI kit, and the UI kit defines all the object as a UI. So yeah, so it's part of the UI kit, so it would be UI label. That's a quick question answered right there. And let's just call this label. And we're done. So let's go into interface builder, and we'll go to our viewController.xib, and this should bring up our interface builder project. And we'll just add some simple stuff here. So dragging a label here, and let's choose to name this loading. I don't know. And let's make the font bigger so you guys can see it better. That's better. A little bit too big. It's about good. So let's add a loading thing right in the middle. And now we want to go to our connections. Select your file zone or go to your connections, and you want to drag our label that we created to the label. And that's pretty much it. So now we can quit interface builder. And we want to save. So now we want to go to our viewController.m. We want to go uncomment the void view did load. Now this isn't required. Pretty much the void view did load is something that will trigger an action as soon as you launch the app. I got confused and I was a beginner to SDK. I always thought that you had to put it under the void view did load, but all the void view did load is it's just something that will trigger off an action when you first open the app. So we just want to start the timer as soon as we open it up. So then we would uncomment the void view did load. So right here, void view did load. Press enter after the super view did load. Then we want to do timer, because that's what we called our NSTimer. Or do we call it? Yeah, we call it time. So time space equals space open brackets NSTimer. Press the S key and it will automatically do everything for you, but that's not the right one. We want another one. So we would press the escape key, and we want to do schedule with time interval. So make sure it's schedule time interval target self selector. Just press the escape key when that comes up and select the bottom one. And this is how long you want the timer to go. So let's make it go for 5 seconds before it will do the action. Target is going to be self, and selector we're going to do @selector in brackets, let's just call it action. And that is where action will be held. I'll explain that in a second. User info, nil, because the user of the app cannot modify this timer. Repeats, no, unless every 5 seconds wants it to happen, but let's just make it no. And like I said in the beginning of this tutorial, that's how many games are made, because the timer does repeat, and that would make, like, let's say every 5 seconds or every half a second something happens. That's how a lot of games are built up. And now we want to create a void. So we called it action. And this is where our NSTimer's action will be. So the NSTimer triggers off, and then it will trigger off a void. So dash, open brackets, void. And we called it action. Make sure it's spelled correctly, even copy and paste it if that helps, but I'm pretty sure I spelled it right. Open brackets and close brackets. And this is where the action goes after the NSTimer triggers off. So what we did is we want the label. In this case, we call our label label. So label.text space equals space at quotes. You may have seen Joe's beginner tutorial on SDK, and he explained what these at quotes mean and stuff, but basically it's in a string. So at inside the quotes, that's the text. It's hard to explain. And we'll just say done. And our close quotes and semicolon. Now let's test this out. So if we build and go in the simulator, we succeeded. Now we count to 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Give it a second and done. So that's pretty much how you guys use an NSTimer. You guys can make it trigger off when you click a button, but I just did it in the void view to load. And one more thing quickly, I want to tell you guys how to stop the timer, because this is part of the NSTimer tutorial. Let's just create an IB action really fast. We'll just call it stop. We'll copy this line and we will paste it, because say you want to pause your game that you're playing and you want to stop kill the NSTimer and make it stop the timing. It's pretty straightforward to do. We'll just paste in the IB action, so we'll just click a button when we want to stop the timer. So go back to your interface. I gotta save the .h really fast, so it will go through in interface builder. And S. And now let's just drag in a quick button here. Stop timer. And select your file zone or go to the connections, and we want to drag our stop to our stop button. Select touch up inside. So basically, after you touch your finger down and lift your finger up, it will do the action. And there you go. Quit interface builder and save. So now, in our .m, this is where our action will go for our button. And it's really simple. It's just time invalidate. All it is. Bam. Your timer is killed. So, for example, let's just launch the app here. And one quick thing, you can't stop a timer and it's already stopped, otherwise your app will crash. So a lot of people are having crashing apps with their games, and that's because you're trying to pause the game twice when the timer. You can't invalidate a timer that's already invalidated. So yeah. So as you can see, it's done. You saw it change in 5 seconds. As you can see, we open it up. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and it will go to done. But let's stop the timer. So stop timer. As you can see, we can wait forever, and it will never ever ever change to done because we stopped the timer. And if you click stop timer again, the app will crash, and that's because you can't invalidate a timer that's already invalidated. So it's a little bit tricky with coding to get that all worked out, but I'm sure you guys can handle it. What I do sometimes is I create a hidden label, and if that label, when you pause the game, let label equal 1, and then that would tell everything to stop. And if it's when you go back, you'll change back to 0. It's kind of hard to explain, but just structure something out in your game or whatever. But yeah, guys, I hope this helped out with making an NSTimer. For more great SDK tutorials, check out our SDK Central channel. We have an SDK tutorial coming up daily. So This is probably one of your #1 channels for SDK, the most tutorials you can find. So go subscribe to our channel to stay tuned for more great tutorials, and for now, I'm Jonah from SDK Central. Thank you for watching and have a nice day.